radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right, welcome, Fade to Black. That's right. Today's Wednesday, May 17th, 2023, and my guest tonight is one of my favorite people on planet Earth. Maureen St. Germain is with us. We're going to be talking about Ascension, how to elevate, how to get yourself up to that number 5D. We're going to be talking about that and so much more. She has been an Ascension teacher all around the world. She has taught in 24 countries, including China, Japan, Australia, Bulgaria, Turkey, Egypt, England, Scotland, Canada, Mexico, and the United States. All of that in one breath. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black. Seems like I was just hanging out with her last week, Maureen St. Germain. Maureen, there she is. How are you?
I am awesome. I'm awesome to be on the show with you. Welcome to you and all the guests that are listening. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, you're the best. Did we have fun? Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah, that cruise really was awesome.
Man,
everyone was in such a great space. We had awesome information, great people. It was really fun.
It's just fun, and this is, what made it great for me? Nobody could escape.
I said that.
Oh man, there's a picture. I'll find it during the break. I should have gotten it ready. There's a picture. You and I took a selfie, right? And if you remember, we got the room all nuts and crazy, and you and I did this crazy selfie. Below you, on the floor, underneath your arms, is Ruben Langdon doing a photobomb with this crazy. It's the best selfie ever. And you and I just laugh. It's great. And everybody in the room. And Ruben is laying on the floor and he squeezes in and does this crazy face. It's awesome. I'll find it and post it. It's just awesome. So welcome back. I know that you get tired of hearing this, Maureen, but you hear me say this to everybody that I look up to you. I admire you. I just think you're one of the greatest. And I constantly say that in your presence. And you're probably tired of it, but we have been friends for a long time. Mm-hmm. And your approach and your communication skills are so great. And I've sat through your classes, and I've always been there. I've introduced you, and you have a way of communicating. Did you? I have to ask. I've never asked you this. Did you learn that, or were you born with that skill? Were you talking like that in first grade?
I was.
Yeah,
I was.
I believe it. Yeah.
When I was in kindergarten, this will make you laugh. The teacher asked me what my address was. And I looked at her and I said, I don't know. And then she asked me, what's your phone number? And I looked at her and said, why are you asking me these questions when you obviously have them on the paper in front of you?
End of story. Yeah.
She wrote a note to my mom.
Yeah, right on the back of the report card. Her communication skills are great, but she needs to back up just a little bit.
Well, why was I worried about it? I lived on a farm. People took me where I needed to go. Why was it important for me to know these things?
Yeah. I love that. I think all of us write the notes to your parents. The notes are never good notes. Maureen is amazing. Jimmy is amazing, right? Give him a raise in his allowance. No, those weren't the notes. And I remember I got this thing on the back of one of my report cards, and I didn't understand what the teacher wrote. Done intentionally, words that I don't understand. And I take it home, and I thought it was good. Nah, no, it wasn't so good. It wasn't so good. But I've been doing this my whole life, and so have you. Now, let's actually start here, because down below, everybody, there is a special link that Maureen, it's a gift to everybody tonight. So you can scroll down and check that out. But because I'm going to let Maureen tell you what that link is.
Okay, so this is a guided meditation. It won 2 awards. It won an award as CD of the Year by the Coalition of Visionary Resources, the people in the biz. Excuse me. And it's a meditation. It's actually 2 parts, an intro and an actual meditation, where you are walked through a explanation on why this works and what it is and where my resources came from. And then it explains that there's a bowl of energy, like, when you cut a little boy's hair, and cut it in a bowl. There's a bowl of energy that you can activate. And I walk people through the activation of it that turns on what I call the satellite dish to call home. And the meditation is very high. I have pages and pages of feedback from people who have used it and are just raving about it, because it opens up their connection to source. And the cool thing is, because we're working with the sinus cavities, and there are sinus cavities in the back of the head that even the medical establishment does not know what they're for. And so the actual energy, you can feel it. So when you do this meditation, you'll feel your sinuses open up, even if you didn't think they were closed. And it's based on some information that I was given by my guides. And then I found something in the Old Testament, a reference in Ecclesiastes to the silver cord and the golden bowl, before the golden bowl is broken and before the silver cord is broken. And I knew that that was the missing piece that I had been waiting for. And I'd been waiting for like 5, 6, 7 years to release this information. And the meditation is just wonderful. People have raved and raved about it. So the idea for the listener is to play the intro and then the actual meditation. And at some point, you might decide you don't need to listen to the intro. I always like to listen to it because I like to be reminded of the setup. But you don't have to after a few times. I was one of those people that if I played an exercise video in the first 10 minutes were the safety instructions, I ended up missing the whole video because I went and did something else.
On the cruise, okay, so everybody, the link is below. Let's talk about meditation for a second. And I want to get into a definition of 5D. We'll do that too in just a minute. But so Maureen and I, we go on this cruise. We got about 200 people on this cruise. And it's the cruise to Mexico from last month. And a lot of meditating on this cruise, a lot of breath work on this cruise. And at about day 4, right? At about day 4, I could go into the zone in about 30 seconds. I was breath worked out. It was pretty intense. It was pretty intense. It was like I was already there. And to have so many people that were just on the same page and at the same, in the same space, it was pretty amazing.
And the interesting thing about that is when there's a group like that, that group energy actually builds on each other. And so the whole group is working together as a unit. And so you get lifted into that zone pretty easily because you're sharing the same vibe.
It was so funny. My quote after day 4 was, "I'm breathed out."
Yeah, because there was a lot of breath work. Yeah,
there was a lot of breath work. Okay, so I could joke about that all day long because I talk about meditation and my own version of it, how I do it, which is completely against all the rules, but it works for me, right?
Well, I'm not so much of a rule maker or taker either, because I decided that I had such a monkey mind years ago that I needed somebody to guide me through it. And I listened to a couple of other people, and I remember saying to my sister, I could do something better than that. And she said, what's stopping you? And that's how this all got started.
I sat down with Susan Shumsky, and I don't think you were there. She was table tipping, right? So, and she goes, and I was supposed to be over with Scott Walter. At that moment, they were starting. She goes, Jimmy, just you and Sarah come in, and you can be first with the question. And I said, okay. So we go in, and before we did 45 minutes of breath work. And poor Scott was across the hall. And I looked at Sarah, and Sarah was in the zone. And by the time we got around to asking questions, I didn't want to come back out of the meditation. But the reason why I bring it up is she did 7 breath exercises, 7 different ones. It was 45 minutes. Too many rules for me, right? I think that there is an easier way to get there, at least my style. But I'm going to check out yours below.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about 5D, and I know that I ask you this every time that you're on the show, but for those out there that have heard 5D, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6, you've heard, but it's misused, I think, quite a bit. 1 and 2. Most don't know where to go to get this information or to even fully understand what we're talking about. So let's start there. What is Maureen St. Germain's definition of 5D?
5D is the equivalent of what everyone else says is heaven. That's an easy definition. It's a vibrational data set. It means that you and I can be sitting here and get into 5D and slide back out and slide back in. It's a place where we can be in what I would call active free will without having the attraction factor to anything that would be harmful or hurtful. We lose our taste for misbehaving, I would say. Doesn't mean we won't have creativity. Doesn't mean we won't have variety. Doesn't mean we won't have lots of color. We won't need to have the darkness. And the darkness implies choices that are less than supportive or holy, and not necessarily the color darkness. Yeah.
I like to misbehave, though.
Yes, and you will. And, I'm quite the character myself, but that doesn't mean that your misbehaving is hurtful or harmful to anyone. You see, so the craziness, the acting out, all that is great. And that's the cool thing. It's never been done before. We've never moved our creativity into the 5D zone where we would continue to have free will, but the option to choose something would be harmful or hurtful doesn't exist. And the best way I know to explain it is, if you have a house guest and they come to your house unexpectedly, you invite them in, you maybe give them a glass of water or a cup of coffee and sit them down and say, what can I do for you? You wouldn't think of having someone stand at the door and try to tell you their story. So it's our culture that says we would be respectful and allow our guests to come in. In the same way, in 5D, it doesn't occur to us to do anything that's harmful or hurtful because we're so plugged in that we would know before we opened our mouth that thing I was going to say isn't going to work. Yeah, so it's like that.
I was talking to Whitley Strieber last night or the night before. I think it was last night. I can't remember. And we were talking about this briefly, and I mentioned, and I think this is where you're going, that if you want the world to be different, if you want what's in front of you to change, then you yourself have to be that change. You have to play the role. You can't fake your way through this. It starts with you, right?
Right. And it puts you in a zone. It's kind of like the zone you were in when you were describing your meditation.
Right.
It's a place of peacefulness and tranquility, but it isn't completely limited to that. But that might be where you start, because there's layers. You know, when you get into 5D, that's not the end all of the be all. That's just the beginning of a whole nother round of creativity. So
now, okay, so now let's go down a level. Let's go down to 4D for a second. Right now, am I 3D?
sometimes.
Okay. 4D has got kind of a strange reputation.
That's a good word. Well, the scientists will say that 4D is time, and I don't believe that at all. I think time is a construct, and as such, we can manipulate time very easily. And there's plenty of stories of people who have manipulated time. You might even have that experience yourself, where it's a 5-hour drive and you make it in 3 hours, and you're not speeding, and you're just in the zone, and suddenly you arrive, and everybody's, I thought you weren't going to get here for another couple hours. That kind of stuff has happened, and it's been documented by people, including me. Happened to Greg Braden in Egypt. It happened to me in Egypt. So I don't buy the time thing at all. So as I explore the energy, I see that that fourth dimension is a zone where you are moving into that still has polarity, but the vibe is faster. So it's high emotion, high creativity, and high expression. So you could be either really happy or really sad. And either one will push you down or push you up. So, and it's like music, because you're a musician, you understand this. When you do a 1-3-5 chord, the 1-3-5 is very comfortable, and the music wants to flow around those 3 notes. If you get stuck on the 4th, it wants to resolve either down to the 3rd or up to the 5th. So 4 is a transition zone. And as a transition zone, the best way to describe 4th is Grand Central Station or any airport. It's the place you go to get somewhere else. It is not a location that you want to go to. It's a transition place.
Okay, Maureen, I think your cable is making some noise. Your headphone cable.
And I'm waving my arms around too much. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's a 5D connection right there. So it's kind of like I'm doing a visual, kind of like an on-ramp, a way station, a holding bay.
Well, I wouldn't call it a holding bay, but it's a place of great movement.
Yeah, it's transitional.
Right.
It's not a placeholder. You're not going to hang out there.
If you get stuck there, you find yourself in temporary unhappiness or temporary joy. But when you're in joy, you usually slide right up into 5th dimension pretty quick.
And now let's go the other direction. And 6D, 7D, 8D. What's past 5D?
6D is a place where we have the energy of templates, and it's where we go in the dream time. 7D is a place of introspection and research. 8D is the place we go to when we fall asleep while we're meditating. And it's the last place we have a connection to our physical bodies. So 8D is the zone that has the last bit of connection. And what I mean by that is there's such a big difference between 8D and 9D that we don't have the tools to understand it. It's a lot like sometimes we hear stories about communications with ETs, and we can't comprehend what they're trying to tell us because we don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge or understanding. Or it's like a scientist trying to explain something to a first grader. They don't have the capacity to understand at their level because there's no point of connection. It's like when I was a kid, going to McDonald's was, the best thing. We would be thrilled when our parents would say, we're going out for dinner. Do you want us to go get McDonald's for you? But if I was trying to impress somebody, I wouldn't take them to McDonald's today. So I don't have a taste for it anymore. But I did at one time.
I don't even know the last time I've been to McDonald's.
Yeah, me neither.
I'd have to. It was with my kids, though. I can tell you that. I'm almost positive there were kids involved. Now let's talk about meditation and how to get started. There are plenty of listeners right now that already meditate and they know how to get to that point. But if we're going to address those out there that have often wondered about this but never got the straight answers, tonight's the show for you. And then as we do this, I want to talk about chakras. I want to talk about the different points in your body and what they mean. I think, again, we hear it mentioned a lot in conversation. And sometimes, Maureen, I'll step back and go, dude, you're full of crap, right? and others where I'm like, spot on. And so it's just a strange zone. So let's start there. Let's talk.
Well, there's a lot of people with monkey mind, and I was one of them.
Right.
And I could not settle down. So I wrote meditations that would walk me into that zone and let me stay there. That's primarily how I began to meditate, and it's still my preferred way. I can sit and do quiet meditation. I can sit and do Vipassana, but I prefer the guided meditations because I have a pretty strong mind and I want to be able to direct my energy in a very precise way. I'll still land in the same place everybody else does at the end of that process because it puts you in a really high state. But on the way up there, I have something to work with.
And okay, what's a guided meditation?
A guided meditation is where someone, a voice like me, is telling you what to do and how to do it. So in one of my meditations on manifestation, I start out, dance with me in the river of golden opportunity. And then I proceed to take people through that process. And the meditations are really one of my bread and butter things. And we just came out with an app that it's called Illuminate. And it's got all the meditations on it. And we have 6 of them that are free. The app is free. If you want to get all of them, you buy in. But it's a wonderful way because you don't have to be on the internet to get the meditations in.
Yeah, and you just launched the app. Man, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
I love this, though. You just launched the app. Where can everybody find it? At the App Store? And what's it called?
iTunes Store. And it's called Illuminate, Illuminate. And apparently there's more than one called Illuminate. So you can add my name, just Maureen is fine, and it'll come right up. And it's a purple box with a curly arrow. And so it's really very distinctive once you see it. And so we're really excited about that. And so going back to your idea of what is a guided meditation, the guided meditation guides you through a process so that you get to participate in a very particular kind of direction. So the music is channeled, the script is channeled, and then it's all mixed. I do all the mixing and put it into a format so that when you turn it on and close your eyes and put your feet on the floor, you are good to go because it takes you right through it, takes you right there. There's all kinds of meditations. There's a meditation for selling your home faster. There's a meditation for cleaning your pranic tube. There's a meditation for archangels. And it's just a big variety of things. most of which have been because I've been asked certain questions or I've had a need, and I sat down and wrote the material to make it happen.
How, actually, I want to stay guided for a second. I was with some friends in Colorado a couple of months ago, and two female women. They are friends, and we're out to dinner. And one of them was talking about the meditation that morning. And now I'm not going to get into specifics about it, but she said that it was her choice of what she wanted to eat for dinner that night. And it had to do with the meditation earlier in the day. Anyway, she was meditating for 60 minutes before work. And I thought that's got to be too much. 60 minutes alone with a guided meditation. You've got somebody around you, right? But 60 minutes alone does that sound normal?
There are people who meditate for 60 minutes or 2 hours or 4 hours, certainly.
Right.
And this thing called Vipassana that's sponsored by a certain kind of Buddhist tradition is where you go for 5 days and that's all you do is meditate, and you get simple meals, and you have somebody coaching you through it and giving you some suggestions. And it's only silent meditation. But I'm like you, I don't want to sit that long. And I started out learning the Merkaba, which only takes 5 minutes to do. And it transformed my life. So I could see the merits of a guided meditation. And the Merkaba itself is a little bit complicated. So I wrote a guided meditation so that I would be able to give it to the students and they could play it for themselves like that. So the guided meditation is very interesting in that a lot of the meditations I write are made in a very precise way. For example, I'll tell people about Archangel Michael, who's the archangel on the first ray in the will of God, and he can help you with this, and you can name what you want to work on. And then I leave a space. I actually pause with the music going, and then I go on to the next angel. And in this way, people are able to infuse a guided meditation from Maureen with their specific need. And so it's a form of a petition, but it's more than that because it puts you in that quiet state, in that lower state of contemplation and meditation.
Now, okay, if you have something intentional, I love the selling, something focused, right?
Right.
I love that idea. When you're finished with the meditation, is it something that is now with you subconsciously, and that's the motivation and the guidance, or is it something that you have to remember?
It stays with you.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, there's some meditations we suggest, why don't you do this for 45 days and see what happens? The one I was talking about earlier, the meditation for manifestation, the dancing in the river of golden opportunity,
right?
That came right from the records and the Akashic records. And when I got the information and my guides, I was at a time when I was, early years, I wasn't very well known and I was struggling financially. I was told, just keep dancing in the river of golden opportunity by my record keepers. That was my advice to me. My guidance through the records to me. And I got a phone call from a pal who said she owned a oil flower essence company, and she says, I'm in big trouble. This spa owes me $6,000, another spa owes me $5,000. These other guys owe me $10,000. I can't make my house payment. They're going into collection. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, I did this meditation earlier today, and you want to try and run through it? And we ran through it. And she called me like 2 hours later. She says, this is amazing. These people, somebody called me and they said, come over and we'll give you a check right away. And it solved her immediate problem. 2 weeks later, she calls me, same drama. We do the same thing, same results. She calls me the next day and says, you're not going to believe this, but same thing happened, So then I asked my guides, okay, so am I supposed to release this
Right. Right.
for everybody?
Right.
At that point, I thought it was just for me, you see. And
Yeah.
so when I put it out, and even last week, one of my people said to me in a group, it was a big group of people, and she said, that dancing through a golden opportunity, that's the deal. When you start doing that, everything shifts, everything changes. And so if you're worried about money, spend $9 and get the meditation, or it might be one of the free ones. I don't remember now which ones are free. So you got to check it out.
You know what I do? This is what I do. First off, I'm a bright ray of sunshine.
Yes, you are.
Right? I'm just a bright ray of sunshine. But anytime the world and the universe comes back to me in a positive way, I'm serious. I just stop right there. Thank you. I do. If now I do it when I'm alone. I don't do it in the middle of a parking lot or in the middle of a store, right? Or around people. I would look really strange. But I take the moment to do that and to recognize what the moment is. Always be positive. Always be thankful. And that's my vibe. The universe and the connectivity of the universe is real.
That's so true. We are getting closer and closer to our awareness than we have ever been. It's scary in some regards, but more and more people are taking up the idea of meditation, and they're taking up the idea that will enhance their life. And there's all kinds of scientific studies that prove that. So it gives everybody a chance to participate in whatever level they want, if they want to.
How do we combat the negative people of the world that will say something like, I mean, there's all kinds of negativity around. I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to, man, if everybody doesn't elevate to 5D this year, I'm out, right? That kind of negativity where there's an expectation globally. And I don't understand why you can't just focus on the self. What do we do about that if you've got that kind of negativity around you? And I know you hear this. You and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah. I think the thing to do is just say, hey, man, whatever rocks your boat, whatever floats your boat, do it. And it's not my reality. If you want that, go for it. It's very interesting because one time I said to someone, I champion your right to hold that belief as long as you want. And it was like a game changer. The person leaned into me and asked a question and, then did his own interpretation about, well, does that mean this and this? And it was so far off, but it was closer than it would have been if he hadn't,
Right.
I said, yeah, something like that. Because what I have figured out is when people notice you're different, notice you're happy all the time, or you're in a good mood most of the time, or, things come your way and things seem to work out, they'll say, what do you eat? Or how do you pull that off? And the first time they ask, they're just curious with their mind. They're just trying to understand you're different. And I wonder how he does that. But so I always give them the short blow off answer and then change the subject, like, oh, well, I went to a meditation seminar last weekend and it was really good. Where we're going to go for lunch, and immediately shift. That way takes the pressure off of them to ask more questions in case they were just curious. When they ask a second time, and that does happen, sometimes it takes 2 days, 2 weeks, or 2 years. When they ask the second time, they're ready. They've opened up their mind and their heart. They're willing to consider changing. So when you have that opportunity to share with people, don't jump at it. Take your time, because you want people to want it. Otherwise, they'll go running, screaming.
Now, I've noticed when you're speaking to a room full of people, you're speaking to, in a basic sense, people that are ready. They're focused. Their energy is right on you. Is it the same in China, in Japan, in Canada, around the world? Is it that same focus and with people that are ready?
Yes and no. I've been doing a lot of classes on Zoom in China because of the shutdown. And every once in a while, I get somebody who's got their phone on, but you can see they're typing away or they're talking, or worse, they don't even have their camera on. We do require that they have their camera on. So sometimes I'll stop and I'll say, I did ask you to please put your attention on this piece. And I don't do it a lot because I don't want to spend all my time correcting people. But it does happen that people don't pay attention for whatever reason because they've got something else going on. But in these Zoom classes, I have found that we're really compressed. We don't have time to flesh out all the details. We focus on very important information and hope that the layers and the nuances that are behind that come through. But sometimes they don't. And then we handle it when we do the Q&A at the end of the event.
How bad is this as a distraction? How bad has it gotten?
Well, in the US, it's not a problem at all, I don't think. But in China, a lot of people, that's the only device they have, and they're taking the class on the phone. So then they're not using it.
Wait. Let me reframe the question. How bad is this to a distraction of life and communication and relationships? That's what I mean. How bad has it gotten?
In China, you mean, or anywhere?
It just in general.
Well, I think we've all come to the place, especially from being in the shutdown position. I think we've all come to the place that, at dinner, phone's out of the question.
Right.
And people are understanding new rules. Like if you go for a walk with a partner, one of you takes the phone, the other one leaves the other one in the car. So there's all kinds of cool stuff, the conventions that we've adapted that help us be less on the phone. The other thing is people are starting to realize this thing isn't, it isn't just the be all and end all. And we know of people who've gotten brain cancer or breast cancer because they were tucking the phone in their bra, and all of a sudden you're realizing, maybe I don't need to be carrying that thing all around all the time. Yeah. I purposely leave my phone in another room every chance I get. So when I go to meals, phone isn't there. When I go to bed, I don't have the phone unless I have a 3:30 a.m. wake up call. And then that's another matter, because I want to be available for those classes.
I do this just to watch somebody's face. Okay. This is what I do, Ward. I'll go, what's great about, if somebody wants to know about being a host and doing this every night and how cool it is. And I'll give them the opposite of what they expect. I'll say, I don't get to talk on the phone for 3 hours a night. I just talk to another human being. And I've been doing that for 10 years. You think you can put the phone down for 3 hours? It just watch their face. Like, nah, man.
Yeah.
No. Radio's not for me. But I have grown as a person because of that.
Mm-hmm.
That I actually sit and have a conversation without distraction for 3 hours. Today I did it for probably 7 hours today. I did 4 shows. This is my 4th show today. If you know what I mean, there's no phones involved. It's just a conversation. And it's a weird suggestion to people to watch their we've grown too attached to it now, and especially the kids.
It sounds like you've learned to rely on your intuition more as a result.
Who did I learn that from? And who did I learn that from? Who did I and see, but here's the thing. And we're going to spend some more time on this after the break, which is in 20 minutes. But the Akashic records, let's back up. If math and particles do their thing, then therefore everything is determined. Now stay with me. That is an elimination of free will. Free will is an illusion. And that's on the scientific side, that atheist, chemical, pragmatic, scientific way of looking at things. And then we have the Akashic records, and we have free will, and going into the records and revealing them and potentially altering our path, right? But can the two coexist? Or can you have a determined scientific world and still have free will? And if the Akashic records are there and they're a record, how is it possible to alter it? So, and if you're altering it, I've given this way too much thought, but I need you to help me understand what's going on.
Well, I thought about this a lot too, because I wondered if we could read the records, how we could know something about a potential future. And when I asked in the records about this, what was explained to me is we have potential futures. And I'm not so sure science says what you just said, because, the Schrodinger cat argument, the double slit argument, all of those discussions lead to a possibility that the observer is the determining factor, not a set thing.
Now let me stop you right there. That was brilliant. And let me tell you why that's brilliant. Because the physicist, the quantum physicist, right, doesn't want to talk about consciousness or the possibility of life after death, or they don't want to talk about no, right? But yet they will talk about the double slit experiment. They will talk about Schrodinger's cat, and they will say you can change something by just looking at it. It's like they want to have it both ways, right? And I have big issues with that. You can't have Schrodinger's cat and not have ghosts. I'm sorry. They're
So as we look at this, we can see that every time you make a decision, you bifurcate on your timeline. And there's an alternate timeline that is making another decision. Whether, like say when people decide where they're going to go to college, and they're looking at 2 schools and they choose one, they're in this first one for 2-3 months, they realize it's the wrong choice. They back up and they go to the other one. It's still, the energy is still there. If they wait too long, the energy's gone. They'd have to start over and reapply. So it's similar in that when we make a choice, depending upon how much waffling we do, that dictates how much energy is being given to the choice we didn't take. For example, when a couple splits up and they both feel guilty about what they did wrong that blew up the marriage or their relationship, whatever it is, they ruminate about that. The more they struggle with their part or their guilt feelings or their regret, the more they're feeding that alternate version that wants to continue. So I've had clients who've told me stories of like 2 different cases that I can think of right off the top of my head, where the woman was having dreams about an ex-boyfriend, even though she was happily married for 4, 5, 10 years to her current husband.
Mm.
And in the record, they say the same thing. They say, well, the guy that you broke up with is having regrets. Maybe he was in a relationship and it didn't work out, and he realizes he wants to have what he had with you. Another thing that happens that causes regret is recognizing that you committed something that caused your split, and you want to make sure you don't let it happen again, but you'd really like another chance with the person that you messed up with.
Mm.
So those kinds of things happen, and we get stuck in a loop, so to speak. And it's that loop that people create that causes these alternate timelines to exist. Now, as we move to 5D, we're actually bringing back the timelines and merging them and merging the experiences. So we have both the victim experience and the perpetrator experience, and we merge them. Okay.
Yes.
And this gets crazy.
Yeah.
I had a guy, I want to be careful how I word this. We sold a company that we had started, and we were supposed to be 50-50. And instead, his wife got a new kitchen and I got $250. And a few years later, after I'd done my own work on it, getting over it, I realized that it was fine and it didn't matter. And then I had an experience where we were practicing eye to eye. I'm sure you've done this, where you look someone in the eye and you wait till their face morphs, and then you see something new or something different. And I saw this, my partner saw the guy on my face, and he had a distinctive facial mark. So it was definitely him. And I asked in meditation, what the heck? He's not even in my world anymore. I'm not mad about it anymore. I've gotten over the drama. And I was told that guy was another version of me. So that guy that got the lion's share of the money that I, my half, that means I stole from me. Is that theft?
So, okay, but how do you release that, right?
I thought it was hilarious.
I know.
I thought it was even funnier because
Right.
if I'm him and he's me.
But did your bank account benefit?
I was doing okay at that point, so it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. But is there another workaround? Like, for instance, instead of feeling guilty or thinking about yourself and what you did wrong, why not think about the other person's bad moves and the things that they did wrong, and think about the bad stuff instead of thinking about the good times? Think about the bad times, and maybe you can shut it out. Is that an alternative workaround?
I wouldn't recommend it. And the reason is because that says I'm a victim. That says poor me. That says I hooked up with a bad person. What was I thinking? It still comes back on me. So at the end of the day, I'd rather just figure out what I did wrong and not do it again.
Mm.
I can actually remember a time when I said to myself, I didn't spend enough time with this guy, and I wish I had spent more time with him, but it's too late. It's gone. Next time I'm involved in a relationship, I'm going to hire a housekeeper because, I have a lot going on. And the next thought was, I'm not waiting. I'm hiring a housekeeper now. And it was funny, So I think that when we start to see in ourselves what we are doing wrong, we get to do it right. We get that opportunity because we've got it. We totally got it.
Why is it so easy, Maureen, to do the wrong thing? Why is that so? Why can't doing the wrong thing be more difficult? Doing the
Well,
right thing is
in
right.
5D, it won't even happen. So
But you understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
Doing the right thing is work. Got to work at it. And you want good grades, you've got to do the homework. You want bad grades, that's easy, right? Just goof off, don't do your homework. Why is it just so hard for people to do the right thing?
well, part of it is that we're being fed garbage. We're being fed energy on the airwaves and the cell phones and the Wi-Fi that tells us to reject things that are put in front of us that are obvious and to forget what we've learned. So even if we've learned something, we forget. And it is hard. I think your point is well taken. It is hard to make the higher and best choice. And it does take an act of will. But the thing is, in this era, at this time, when we decide, and it is a decision, it is actually a choice, when we make the choice to be a certain way, to stop, screaming about something or to stop complaining about something, when we step into that as a habit, we notice and we can stop. And that's how we change, because we've made a choice in our mental body to stop. And that choice is supported by the rest of our consciousness. And of course, if you believe in angels, you can ask the angels to help you, and they will. They'll remind you when you're not telling the truth or when you're behaving in a way that you're trying to fix. And then there's all kinds of tools that people can use, lots of alternative tools that will help people shift and change in an instant and move out of their behaviors. One of the biggest reasons people stick with their bad behaviors is because that was the workaround that they created when they were a child.
Right.
You're in a situation with your parents and you have a dad that comes home drunk. So you figure out that it's better to hide when he gets home so you don't get beaten. So now you're happily married. You love your wife, but she's kind of flamboyant. She's excitable. And whenever she starts talking in a very fast or loud way, you bail. I got to go to the library. I need to do this. I need to run to the store. And you take off. You're now in counseling. The issue is presented in a sane way. You agree, yeah, I get it that I'm doing that. I get it that that's harmful. I'll try really hard not to do that next time. Next time it happens, same darn thing. Because as a default, we created a program that says the way to be safe when things get intense is to hide. When you do this kind of work, and I do this in a project called Quantum Matrix Healing, it is a healing modality that I have. That modality then, in an instant, takes you out of that program and into a program that you've created with your higher self. And that changes everything. Everything. One time when I was the CEO of a convention and visitors bureau, I had a boss who was very kind but patronizing. And we were talking about going to a city council meeting, and I'm trying to get him to go. He's the chairman of the board, and he's thinking I should go because I'm the paid staffer. And he said, oh, well, you have little kids. You can't go. We'll send so-and-so. And I looked at him and said, well, that was a little below the belt, don't you think? Now, earlier, when I had that same scenario, I was saying, well, you shouldn't be saying anything about my kids. Don't bring my kids into this conversation. But I knew in my heart he wouldn't say that to a man. So there was this little part of me that was jealous that guys got all the good stuff. And so I did this session, this quantum matrix healing work, and instead of having, what was in me was an angry little boy, because the boys got all the good stuff. Then there's a story behind that. And in the process, I created, with my higher self's help, a man in me who was balanced. So when the man said something that was not really level, I responded, man to man. That was below the belt. Women don't say that phrase. And he got it. He never did that to me again, never undermined me by referring to my children again.
That's strong. That's strong. That's strong. That's strong. I hope everybody understood exactly the scenario. I mean, that's strong. I'll tell you, you brought up Egypt earlier. That probably wouldn't have happened in ancient Egypt.
In ancient Egypt, I probably wouldn't have been doing what I was doing that caused me to create the angry little boy. The backstory, and some of your listeners may want to hear this, the backstory was a couple of days later, I asked to be shown what caused me to create the angry little boy. And the answer was, I was from a farm family. The boys drove the tractors, but the girls never did. The girls did dishes after dinner, but the boys never did. And I don't know that I logically figured that out. I just know that I was climbing a tree. My dad was coming along, and I thought, I'm going to climb the tree and show him how good I am. So I went even higher. He comes along and says, honey, you need to get down from there. And I said, why? And he said, well, I don't want you to get hurt. And I said, yeah, but my brothers are here all the time. And he said, yes, but they're boys. That was my workaround. The angry little boy made sure that Maureen got her fair share of the good stuff.
You know what's weird is there are, physically, men typically are stronger, faster, whatever. But also we're protectors, and we protect our family. And there are certain things. Yeah, we get to eat more, right? we get, but let me tell you what the trade-off is. All right, can I tell you what the trade-off is?
Yeah, sure.
When the building is burning down, you get to leave first. I leave last, right?
Yeah, and you get to rush in and save all the people, and I just stand back and watch.
So there is that part of it, but if we take that back to ancient Egypt, and before modern times, it doesn't necessarily have to be Egypt, but if you go back there, I think that there was not only inequality with the feminine and the masculine. I don't think that there was as much of a definition between the two. But the other part was, for me, I think that so many of us spiritually have come out of Egypt that when we go back in modern times, we get that. And that's why spiritually we get activated and we have those experiences like you did and Greg Braden and myself and others. I think that we all have that connection, don't you?
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's very true. It wouldn't happen otherwise. Yeah, it's a lot of opportunity that happens in Egypt as we remember who we really are, or who we were. Or maybe we don't remember, but we have these amazing experiences and there's no other way to explain it.
Look at Bill, our moderator. He just posted this: "Ship's going down. Women and children first." It's kind of true. I just really quickly before we head to the break, I think everybody has a special place in Egypt. I found mine by accident. Do you have a special spiritual place that rates high for you?
Dendera.
Yeah, that's mine. We can't share Dendera. We can't share Dendera. Temple of Isis. Yeah, is strong fillet. That's
Filet.
You say fillet, I say fillet. But I had some magic happen on that island, and that's not even the original spot.
That's right.
Yeah.
But there's a very cool story about why that place now has the energy of the original spot.
And what is that?
I was told years and years ago to connect the old island to the new one through the water. And when I was told to do it, I said, no, that can't be. This dam was built, 5-7 years ago. And I was told again, you need to connect the two. And I said, yeah, but who am I? And then the answer came back, so you refuse? And I said, no, I'm on it. And I had so many people who had their third eye opened in that group that they were able to confirm that we actually built a underground connection between the two so that they would vibrate at the same level of the original island.
Okay, so this is what I'm not. This is the short version. I used to tell this joke on stage when I would do these mass meditations, right? So I'd have 1,000 people in front of me, and I would do this, and I would tell this joke on stage, and that is, we're going to meditate, right? All 2,000 of us right now, and somebody's going to be walking down Fifth Avenue in New York. Some cranky old man is going to be walking down the street and go, "Whoa!" I felt that. And I used to tell that joke, right? And get everybody to laugh and loosen up a little bit. But that's what happened to me at the Temple of Isis. I'm walking around by myself, Maureen. All that is holy. I'm walking around and I go, it's like, what? And I went there, man. I went there. It took me 90 minutes to get to the point where I could walk. It was like that. It was pretty nuts.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Awesome.
It just blew up. My forehead blew out. Mm-hmm. That's the best way I can explain it. On the side, okay, so outside of the main temple, where the boat ramp is down below, mm-hmm. Okay, there's that cliff that is there, right? And the granite wall. I sat on that granite wall with my feet dangling and trying to get my wits about me. And I opened up my eyes and looking across the Nile to the other side, it was a color that it's not defined. And it just went, I don't even like telling the story. I sound like a whack job, but it happened. It was crazy. That island.
And that was your first trip.
I'm going back in a couple of months, and I don't want to have high expectations to like the Temple of Isis or the other places where I had some crazy stuff go down, including Dendera. Dendera was just. I'm just wondering what else is going to get lit up in Egypt. It's such a special place. Dendera, though. Yeah, that might be the craziest place on earth. I mean, visually stunning too, as well. But you can feel the power just when you first walk up to it. You can feel it.
Yes, you can. And if you ever get the chance, this is to your audience. If you ever get the chance to go to Egypt, take it. Whatever it is, it will be a trip of a lifetime. One of the things that I'm thankful for, and then we'll jump to a break, is about Dendera is the colors are still there, mm-hmm. right? Because everything else, it's thousands of years old. The colors and the paint and this, most of it is washed away. Not at Dendera, and so you still get that the intention of everything over the last 3, 4, 5,000 years. It's still there visually. It's just stunning. It's just stunning to look at. Stunning. Mm-hmm. Let's take our break right here, and I'm not quite ready. I should have been ready, Maureen. I apologize for this, but I will say this: our guest tonight, Maureen St. Germain. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Please visit all of our sponsors. We're taking a quick break here. All of the links are below. We'll be right back. Join us November 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2023 as Disclosure Fest Foundation and Fade to Black Radio presents Stairway to the Stars, a Human Origins Science and Technology Expo, live at the Luxor Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip. With live talks, lectures, and workshops by world-acclaimed researchers and authors. This is Jimmy Church, by the way, and I'll be your host all weekend long. Featuring topics like human origins, ancient technologies, indigenous
indigenous teachings, workshops, a mass meditation, yoga and sound healing, music, and so much more. Don't miss our intimate sky watch and meteor shower over the infamous Area 51 airspace in Rachel, Nevada, with special surprise celebrity hosts guiding us through the night. Also introducing our Disclosure Fest VR Starship area with dozens of rides. You've got to check it out. This event will sell out. For more information and tickets, please visit disclosurefest.org. This is Jimmy Church, and I want to introduce you to LifeWaves X39 Stem Cell Activation Patch, which has totally transformed my health, my sleep, brain, and my eyes. I no longer need reading glasses. X39 is a true breakthrough in regenerative science. Using light, X39's patented age reversal technology is clinically proven to signal the activation of younger stem cells, accelerating the body's natural healing process. X39 promotes restoration and rejuvenation, bringing the life-changing benefits that I've experienced. By naturally elevating a master signaling peptide in the body, X39 boosts vitality, health and wellness, and resets 4,000 genes to a younger, healthier state. It's one patch, once a day, and you can turn back time with X39. Just go to healingworksnow.com. That's works with an X. healingworksnow.com.
Hey everybody, it's Billy Carson, also known as Forbidden Knowledge. I want to talk to you about a very special event coming up July 30th, 2023, the Forbidden Conscious Awards. We're going to honor people who have been contributing to the conscious community for decades. People that you know and love that have helped you get to higher levels of thought and consciousness and awareness. It's going to be a live in-person event, but seats are going to sell out very fast. You want to make sure you're there in person, and guess what? You can help vote for the winners. Voting is available on forbiddenknowledge.com, and the categories are going to be social media influencer, podcast/radio host, TV host, actor, director, producer, entrepreneurs, health and wellness, philanthropists, authors, field researchers, archaeologists, space anomaly hunters, and of course, a Lifetime Achievement Award. I'll be your keynote speaker that night at the Forbidden Conscious Awards. We have celebrity guests performing. We'll have a halftime show where we're actually going to perform music for you. And don't forget about the pre-event mixer, where if you buy a box seat, you'll be in the VIP section, and you also have private access to a VIP mixer with celebrity guests. Shake hands, break bread, network, and then walk the red carpet with us and take amazing photos. It's going to be a night to remember. You don't want to forget this. Make sure you hurry up and get your tickets because they're selling out very fast. I want to see you there. Forbidden Conscious Awards 2023.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Maureen St. Germain, and this portion of the show, this portion of the broadcast brought to you by Accidental Truth, the new documentary by director Ron James. It is streaming on all platforms right now. You can rent it, you can buy it, but it is required viewing by our community. That's it, and I will have a full test pop quiz on Accidental Truth. Our guest tonight, Maureen St. Germain, and Maureen, you're going to be at Stairway to the Stars with us.
I hope so. I have to double check my schedule. After I said yes, I'd do it. We'll have to talk about the dates. So,
okay. Oh, it's like that. Okay. Anyway, well,
I hope so. I want to be there.
There's no way you cannot be at our event. You cannot. No. Okay. So, we started 2 earlier, and then we got sideways, which is awesome. But I wanted to go through the chakra points and definitions for everybody for clarity and clarification and transparency, for that matter. Can we start at the top and go to the bottom? Or you want to start at the bottom and go to the top? If you want to start at the
bottom, actually, I like to start at the center and go out.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so the center would be the heart chakra. And I actually have a meditation called the Spiral Chakra Meditation. So you would start at the center with your heart, and then you would spiral up and around to the solar plexus, and then up to the throat chakra, and then down to the spleen, up to the third eye, then to the gonads, then to the crown, then to the base chakra, and up to the eighth. And then we do something else. But you wanted to know what they did.
Yes.
The heart chakra is all about love and unconditional love, and taking good care of yourself with self-love by not holding on to guilt. Guilt is only good for one thing, and that's to make a change. When we go from unconditional love towards ourselves and we move into the solar plexus, what happens is we create a contrast. Normally, the solar plexus is all about fear and how we survive. It's survival stuff. When we add the unconditional love from the heart, it becomes courage, and courage becomes strength of character. Then when you spiral up to the throat chakra, that gives you the power you need to speak your truth. So many times we don't speak our truth, not because we don't believe it, but because we're afraid or we were punished for speaking our truth. Solar plexus can be golden, and then the throat chakra would be blue, and it's all about power and how you feel about yourself. That's why when our voice goes froggy or we get a little temporary hoarseness, it's usually about whatever we're talking about. And it means that we have fear or we have self-confidence issues around that issue. And then when we move to the spleen, this is where the center of light comes in and feeds the entire body. And the spleen is the only chakra that feeds in both directions. So that means all of our chakras are receptors. They're like, we send out who we are on that chakra, and we take in what's around us. So they're like a radio or a speaker, but it also has a capacity to experience and hear. In the case of the spleen, it is receiving energy from the great central sun, as well as being used as a resource to project healing. And that's part of another chakra system known as the 5 secret ray chakras, which are the center of the palm, the center of the feet, the soles of the feet, and the spleen. What's interesting about that particular group is you see so many healers with their hands holding out. They're actually using that chakra to project. Third eye and the crown are related, and they can be used for creation. So the third eye is in direct relationship to the pineal, and the pineal points upward to the crown chakra. And when you put your attention on the crown and then feed through the pineal and let the pineal rotate out in your meditation, you create a way to manifest that is part of our heritage. So one of the things that we do with that is we create our manifestations using the pineal pointing through the third eye. These are new uses of the chakras that a lot of people probably haven't ever heard of. The ancients didn't use the gonads in the same way that we do in a chakra lineup that either goes up or down. They felt that activating of that energy was too intense and dangerous because we might not be able to control those energies. It doesn't mean we're not feeding those energies through the spleen. It simply means that we're not feeding it directly through the lineup. I could never do any kind of chakra meditation. I couldn't get my arms around what the chakras are for until this information came through. And I think I was kind of holding out. So then this whole meditation, what we do is we take this lineup that looks like a clock that we're spinning around ourselves, and we tilt it forward. We tilt the top of it back, and the base goes in front of us. Now we've got like satellites orbiting us. All the chakras were not meant to be locked in the body. They were meant to be out in the field. And the reason they were tucked in the body is because other beings were taking advantage of this and misusing that energy and causing problems for us. So ideally, a person would create this meditation and do it, but then before they go anywhere, tuck everything back in until you're used to holding that space without interference. And I have had, again, feedback from the people who I've taught this to is absolutely amazing. And it's called the spiral chakra meditation.
Interesting. So it's alternating, and it's not a linear.
It's not linear. And here's the thing. Why is it not linear? Linear is very male. We're moving into an age where the feminine is leading and the feminine is curvy. Okay. We say that in sacred geometry. It helps people remember, you know? Sure.
Makes sense.
Straight lines are male and curvy lines are female.
What about can I ask it's almost comedy. It
is comedy. I love it when people laugh at what the metaphors I make, because then I know they remember.
Well, what about an accidental activation? Like I've had, right? I wasn't focused on anything, and then suddenly, and here's the thing. All right, I didn't have you with me, right? I didn't have somebody sitting next to me going, okay, church, just breathe. This is what's going on, right? I didn't have that. I was on my own, man. I was alone on a ship out at sea, and had to deal with this on my own. What about an accidental activation, and how does one deal with it? How should I have dealt with it?
I don't think it was accidental, but I will say it wasn't intentional.
Well, I wasn't trying to do anything. Okay.
Well, yeah, but you've been talking about going to Egypt for years, Jimmy.
True. That's true. That's
and
true.
And you set the stage for magic to happen, and it did.
I was looking for it. That I was definitely...
You know, and because we've known each other for years and we've interacted in lots of places, one of the things I can tell you is I noticed a difference, and I've been trying to figure it out. And now I know it was that activation, because there's a different aspect of who you are that is now present that wasn't there before. And it's partly, well, I think it's more connected to who you really are. You're more authentic, but that authenticity leads to a bigger sensitivity to others, and it leads to a bigger sensitivity of who you are, which allows you to have this ability to really, really reach into the depths of conversations with people and get into it without any feeling of judgment or bias.
Right.
It's awesome.
Well, it's a position of, it's a space of bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you understand what I'm trying to suggest here, in that because I don't have distractions, because I am happy, because things seem to be in focus, I truly, what makes me happy is what you and I are doing right now. That's my true happiness. How could I not be into or focused and inside of your brain and your mind? It's what brings me joy. I love it. I wish everybody could experience that in life. Let me say this. I have genuine empathy, I feel, for those that haven't found that spark right? They only hold it inside of them. They know what the bliss is, but they won't do anything about it, right? They find themselves stuck. And whatever that is, whatever that secret thing is, or maybe it's a public thing, maybe if you set it out, go and do it, because that's truly the only path to happiness, is if you find your bliss, right? Is that the best advice that I can give? I think
Yes. Yes. And in your case, you already were practicing your bliss. But when you were in Egypt, that connection to the divine aspect of you and the human aspect of you got plugged in. And when it did, it changed everything.
it's true. No, it's true. There is all right. I'm going to ask you a question. There's another thing that I've realized, and I want to know what's going on, that I've also learned, I don't want to use a bad word here, but I've learned not to give an F. Right?
Right.
Not to get wrapped up in drama. And that's an art. That's an art, to not get wrapped up in just stuff. It focus on the good, on the world and you and everything else, but that's a whole nother complex issue, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It really is, especially for people who work. Did you hear that?
Wow,
that was thunder.
See, that
was important.
That was awesome. It's still going on too. That was,
oh my gosh,
that was real.
That was scary.
That was real.
So that's okay. Emphasis God. Okay, we got that, God. And I'm hoping you guys are laughing.
Oh, we are. We are. That was awesome.
The thing is that everything is important, and we're always worried that we're not good enough, and we're always worried that we're going to let someone down. And when we unhook from that and recognize, oh, it's probably going to happen. I'm probably going to let someone down. I'm probably going to screw up. No point in worrying about it anymore. I'm just going to be the best I can and let the chips fall where they may. It's freeing. And that's when you really have found your bliss. It's easy to get wrapped up in deadlines and struggle and pushing to make things happen. And we're moving away from that kind of a lifestyle. And I think the beginning of that was the lockdown, because we didn't have to rush to get into work, you know? And so people learned, oh, I can go take a break and play with the dog. I can, sleep in. I can work with my pajamas on. All kinds of cool stuff that we wouldn't have done otherwise because we were being so rigid. So we're moving, and that's really more feminine, more flowing, more allowing, more receptive. So maybe you turned on your feminine side.
More curvy. More curvy. But, and there was, since we're talking about Egypt, I'll use it as an example, but this is that more thunder?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. See, this that's the universe going, okay, this is the drama you need to focus on right here. This was in all ancient cultures, but Egypt is a great example of this because so much of the old is still there and present, and you can just drive anywhere and experience it. But is this over and over again? You have these moments of going, okay, how did they do this? You say it over and over again. Every time you get out of a car, every time you walk, every time you look, every time you observe, you go, what is it that we have forgotten? Because obviously they had it all figured out 5,000 years ago. And you can clearly see it. Where did we get this amnesia? And that's the part that fascinated me probably the most, is we've lost connection to self. We've completely disconnected, when obviously they had it figured out at 3000 BC. And before that, go back to Göbekli Tepe.
I'm always stunned when I see pictures of temples, whether they're in Thailand or India, that have recently been discovered, and they're overgrown with these huge trees. And I think to myself, some culture built this beautiful temple. How could they abandon it? How could they leave it unattached? Unattended.
Unmaintained.
Unmaintained, yeah.
Unloved. Yes. Yes.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't get it. And these are now tourist spots that, I've had clients send me pictures of these places. And I think to myself, how could they let it go into decay like that? When you build something that grand and then you stop worshiping there, you stop going there? How does that happen? And the only thing I can think of is as a cataclysm or war that chased people away, and they left because they felt they had to in order to survive. And all these things stand, all these stone monuments stand as evidence of prior cultures that have a certain mastery that we don't have yet.
I completely forgot about how quickly we get amnesia. I mean, it's like it takes a couple of years. And if you stop and observe some of the examples that you're referring to, Machu Picchu, driven out, Spaniards come along, the Mayans, how many times was Egypt invaded, right? Göbekli Tepe, deliberately buried and never unburied. They just walked away from Göbekli Tepe. Why? How to build something that grand and that beautiful and that important, and just to bury it and walk away? You're absolutely right. It's a fascinating way to look at it.
Yeah, it's a mystery to try and understand how these things happen and how we can be so, as you say, our amnesia happens really fast. I'm so intrigued by this whole idea of time and clocks, and how, we have this strangeness around clocks that, I say clocks, but I mean calendars that don't match. And, maybe we should steal some days from August or July and put them back in February and fix the calendar, for one thing. And then there's this whole thing that I don't understand yet, but it's kind of like going down a rabbit's hole. This whole idea that maybe the Dark Ages were invented by a mistake.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting, and it's something that we don't have. Well, they don't. They call it the Dark Ages for a good reason, right? And because we know nothing about it, right? There's like no written record. Is it possible that it is fictitious? That's a strange thing to look at. Now, mentioning clocks, you said you had a 5-minute meditation. I'm not going to let you get away with just dropping that and then moving on.
Well, that's the Merkaba. That's the shape that I have back here.
Right.
And I have a little one here. This is the shape that circles around the body. So we have this shape that spins both directions around the body, and we call it the Merkaba. This really is the star tetrahedron, but we call it the Merkaba because it reminds us of that shape. And learning it takes a couple of days or day and a half to learn. And then it only takes 5 minutes to do. And that's absolutely a game changer. That doubled my capacity to do spiritual work. My meditations doubled, my inner awareness doubled, my intuitiveness doubled. It was amazing.
How do
It
you
is
get
amazing.
How do you get in and out in 5 minutes, though? It would seem to me, I want your explanation, but for me, I need 5 minutes just to get my head straight, no matter what. If I'm sitting down for that, but I need 5 minutes just to, just to be me. How do you,
I
how do you,
hear you. I
yeah,
hear you. And I feel the same way. I can't settle down right away. So I always use the intro to settle down and to get my, myself in a place of, okay, I'm ready to really participate. But the actual meditation only takes 5 minutes. And the reason is because you're activating these fields with your breath. You talk about the breath work. You're activating these fields with your breath and with your intention. And when you do that, it sets the field to 5D. So it's kind of like wearing the 5D uniform, whether you've earned it or not. And that's what makes the Merkaba so remarkable. It's such an amazing meditation.
are you folk, are you, I don't mean to be cavalier, but are you focusing? Are you spinning it? Is this something that is a focal point, the Merkaba?
You build it with various steps. So the first 6 steps, you're actually putting your attention on either the upper tetrahedron or the lower one.
Right.
Putting your breath in it. You're filling it with light.
Right.
And then at the end of that first 6 breaths, each one of them, you would clear it with the way you hold your eyes. And then after the first 6 breaths, then you do an energy building of the solar plexus, and you allow that field of light in your solar plexus to expand to about the size of your hips. And then you allow it to pop out so it becomes the same size as the Vitruvian Man.
Mm.
And then from that point, you elevate the sphere, not the star tetrahedron, but the sphere, to your heart. Now, think about this. If you're moving that sphere that's based on your solar plexus into your heart, you're literally merging the heart with the solar plexus, which allows you to move from fear to unconditional love. And that's one of the aspects of 5D. So then you send them spinning. You are taught at this point, after you move everything into your heart. And it's easy to remember these things because you move into your heart on breath 14. And by the way, there's a guided meditation that calls this all out for you. So you don't have to remember anything but the jargon, if you will. And then you have 3 of these guys, 3 of these star tetrahedrons, not just one. We only talk about one because it's too confusing, but there's actually 3. One is male, one is female, and one is neutral. So the one spinning to the left is male, the one spinning to the right is female. So the first step when you do the activation is you turn them on at equal speed. The second step you take is you turn them on in a ratio that is the same ratio that you find in the body, the phi ratio being the ratio that's found between the little finger and the hand, or from the hand to the elbow. So you gain that ability to activate from a place of exactly where we are on this reality. So
When okay,
wait a minute, one more thing. I don't want to skip this.
Okay.
Then the last step is this thing is wobbling because the ratio is uneven, because 34 to 21 is 1.618, which is the phi ratio, but it causes a wobble. And if you've ever had a car with a broken rear spring, like I did one time, the faster you go on the freeway with that thing, the less wobble there is. So you change the speed to vibrate the same rate that an atom vibrates in a cell, which is 9/10 the speed of light. So every activation, the last 3 breaths are all activation steps, are purposeful and different aspects that are being turned on. So like a car gets turned on, that's turning on the engine. That's the last, second, breath 15. Breath 16 is setting it in gear if you have a standard transmission. And the last step is stepping on the gas. So that's how you can do it in 5 minutes.
It took you 10 minutes to tell us how to do it.
That's right. I told you that it would take 4 hours or 5 hours to learn it. But once you learn it, you can do it. And what's so amazing is as you learn it, you just begin it and become it, and it changes everything.
Now, the reason why I was asking about the focus on the rotating Merkaba is I've watched some videos and some animation on this over the years. And I have always, I'm a visual, I'm trying to figure this out. And it's always above the head and it's here. I've never seen three, feminine, neutral, and masculine opposite spinning. Are you, can we back up to that step for a second so I can understand? Is this you are meditating, so visually where are these? Are they in front of you? Are they above you? Are you, like if I'm doing it here and I'm in the zone, what am I trying to picture? I'm going to try this after the show.
Okay. So what you're doing is it's all about intention, because the speed ratios are so fast, you wouldn't really be able to see it. But your intention is that there's three of them. They rest on your pranic tube. So your pranic tube is the center of this guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The top of it is one hand length above your head, whatever your hand length is. And the bottom tetrahedron is one hand length below your feet. So you're in the middle.
Right.
One of these represents the physical body and doesn't move. One of these represents the mental body and it moves to the left. One of these sets, this whole star tetrahedron, spins to the right. And the ratio they create causes this thing to be wobbly. And so then you change the speed. The speed starts out at 1/3 the speed of light. That happens to be the same speed that a random electron has wandered outside of its home base is moving at 1/3 the speed of light. A lot of people don't know that. Then you take this ratio and the pressure from the alternating spin on the same axis causes the speed to double. So now you're at 2/3 the speed of light. And it's still wobbling, so then you just take it up to the speed that everything is supposed to move inside an atom, and that's 9/10 the speed of light. So I actually can, is there a way I can share something with you, a short clip?
You can. Okay, down at the bottom, see where it says present?
Uh-huh.
Okay, click on that. And then you've got your options there. So you've got share screen, you've got video file. It'll probably come into me and I can play it, but it may appear to you.
Okay. Let me try share screen here. And, oh, come on. I'm getting just a bunch of junk. Share. Yeah, I don't want any of those shares, so I'll cancel that. I'll send a copy to you.
Okay.
And you can show it and look at it.
Okay, let me pull
and
this.
this is a very short clip. We're talking like maybe 10 seconds.
Okay.
And how do I paste it in here? Can I put it in a private chat?
I thought you were going to email it to me.
Oh, sure. I can do that. No problem.
Just pop it in email and I'll do it that way. Yeah, I want to see this.
I think you're going to like it. So, and then you can share it with the...
I'll do it the second it comes in.
Okay, very good. I apologize, Mike.
No, that's okay. But I have the technology. I've been fascinated with. Okay, so while you are doing that, I think it just came in. Let me see.
No, it didn't.
Oh, it didn't. Okay. You know what I laugh at is when I'll be watching a movie, somebody will be driving a car, listening to a meditation CD while they're driving. Okay, you are at one with yourself. God, I'm like, man, that's a dangerous move.
I agree. I agree.
That is a dangerous move. All right. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to come in. Somebody made a comment about that earlier too as well. Yeah, let's see it on screen, Jimmy. Yes.
It's coming in. It's coming in. It's coming in. It's coming in on that invitation email, so you'll see it.
Okay.
Send back.
We shall see. Okay, it's not here yet.
All right. So the spin, let me see if I can do it this way. Maybe it just now went out. Maybe now you'll get it. In any event, the spin is pretty powerful, and this video is if you could see it, this is what it would look like, but you can't see it because it's moving so fast.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, what? It's like it's trying to happen, but it's not. Okay, stay right there. Stay
You got
right
it?
Yeah, stay right there. Everybody, you just relax. You just relax. Okay, I've got to before this gets out of control. Let me move this over here. Let me pause this. Okay. All right. Let me back this up. We are good to go. And here we go. So okay. All right. One last little check. Okay, here we go. Bing.
If you could see it, that's what it would look like.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Keep replaying it for a second.
Yeah, that's worth a repeat. Man, that'll get you in the zone, right?
You have to loop it.
Yeah. Actually, I probably could. Oh, it says here. Okay, let me see here. Hold on. It might just loop. Yeah, there it is. Okay. You are getting sleepy. You are getting sleepy.
So it's really hard to imagine, but that's kind of what it would look like if you could see it.
And now bringing this up to if that was the speed of light, or 2/3 or 1/3, that would be a blur.
That's right. Not only that, but then as this whole thing spins, what happens is the whole thing flattens out and looks like a spaceship or a flying saucer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Of course. I have heard. I'm going to run this by you. I have heard many times, not just from one source, many times, that some of the pyramids in Egypt had these on the top. Have you heard the same thing?
Not only that, but I have also heard that the number one reason why Zahi Hawass did not put the gold top on the pyramid when he said he was going to, and he announced to the world he was going to, is because he was told by all the mystics, don't do it. It will set something in motion that you have no idea what you're going to do. And so he didn't. So there's something hidden here that even I don't understand, other than it would activate something and probably wake people up.
We're there, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're waking up. Do you feel that the motion that we have right now with ET and contact and the conversations that are going on now, not only in the media, but governments and state actors and militaries around the world, that suddenly these conversations are happening. And I feel that we are ready for them. Is this change upon us?
I think so. I do think it's going to take more time than people are wanting it to take. I do think that we're looking at a whole nother generation before people finally accept that we are all connected, that we all are supposed to be caring about Earth as well as ourselves. And you see it in the generation that is has been around for a while, and then it seems like it skips a generation, and then the younger ones are really amazing. Like, you remember you said how in kindergarten you didn't get any of those kind of notes that would have been fun or complimentary. My son told me that my granddaughter had stood up in her preschool and said, "The energy here isn't right. Somebody isn't feeling good. Let's all sing and make everyone happy," or something like that.
Right.
You know, and she's like 4. So I think it is going to take that generation to really move us over the top, to give us that tipping point, if you will. At the same time, the tipping point could happen at any time based upon a lot of factors. So we're getting close, but the full on, I don't know how long that's going to take. Could take us 10 or 15 years.
The kids today, when it comes to a better understanding of what can be, right? Okay. An open-mindedness and acceptedness of that has never been this strong like it is right now, where they fully get it. Not only with 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D existence, but the multiverse, the understanding of time, ET, and that side of things, as well as spirituality and the discovery of the self. I've never seen it like this. Well, it wasn't like this when you and I were growing up. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right. Well, we're in the age where we're seeing a difference, and that difference is playing out every day in every way. And I, for one, know that when we are holding a high vibe space, everyone we come in contact with gets to be at that high vibe, because it isn't just us, it's the field we're creating, and it positively influences the people around us. And that's really cool.
But they're fundamentally different. I think it's at the almost like at a DNA level that they are different. They're different. This is a different.
Oh yeah, the children, absolutely.
Yeah.
The little kids, I agree.
It's as crazy as that sounds, to say out loud. I don't think this was taught. I don't. I think that this is just who they are now. That there is a different. You and I, we grew up in the magic to life was a bigger house and a promotion at work and more money. That was that was happiness. That's what life was about. That's not what kids believe today. Oh no, their take on happiness is a totally different world, and I think that it's not being. You know what I mean? I don't think it's learned. I think their DNA has been altered.
Mm-hmm. I think so. In fact, maybe your DNA was altered when you were in Egypt. You never know.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't doubt it. I you know what? I'm going to share this with you. I'm coming back from Egypt, And I love my country. I love the United States. I love being an American. I do. Love everything about it. I love the food. I love the culture. I love the cars. I love it all. But I'm on the plane coming back, and I'm like, man, the United States sucks. Right? And I was like, I got to go from this spiritual place of happiness back to this country where we find ourselves so divided and so much negativity, and I didn't want to face it, and I did a couple of interviews when I got back, and a couple episodes. I shot my TV show and stuff for Gaia, and I brought this point up, Maureen, a few times. I was not happy on that plane trip back. I didn't want to come back. I wanted to stay in Egypt. Yeah. It's a strange.
Well, it's an interesting thing. You refer to it as a spiritual place, but the Egyptians do not consider it a spiritual place. And they do not perceive the holiness that we see in the temples. Yet they are happy people. They are a happy people.
Very happy people. Very happy. Nothing but smiles and teeth in Egypt. It's a beautiful thing to see. But you're right about that. And there's a new series out. I highly recommend it to everybody. It's on, I think it's Netflix, Cleopatra. Okay, it's 4 parts, brand new, just came out a couple of days ago. It's amazing. Just go and watch it. But they bring up in this something that we sort of know about, and our community talks about it, but it's this, that the Romans, when Cleopatra died, she struggled to preserve what it was to be Egyptian, right? To read and write the language, to respect the religion and the gods and everything else. And she wanted to learn all of that in the culture, and she traveled all around the country. But the Romans, after she was no more, tried to erase that. And how quickly the Egyptians themselves forgot how to speak the language, right? Forgot how to write and read Egyptian hieroglyphs. It was like overnight. So you're right about that. The value of the temples and the priests and everything just stopped virtually from one day to the next.
Mm-hmm. 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 And the reason that Philae was able to preserve so much is it didn't go through the purge that the Romans, they avoided it, and it continued to serve as a temple for 50 years after the Romans took over.
That's right.
And so that segment is safe in the environment for posterity. It's awesome.
Yeah, same thing with Dendera, though, too, as well, and Abydos. The farther south that you went away from Cairo, the traditions were preserved, and the temples themselves are in better shape versus what was going on in the north in Lower Egypt. What a great show tonight. Where can everybody chase you down? And now I've got the links up for Maureen's meditation gift, and so everybody can go and click on that and go and check it out. But how can everybody reach out to you, Maureen?
StGermainMysteryschool.com. If you write to info, you'll get a response pretty quick. We have a good team that takes care of that. And if you need to reach me, write info at StGermainMysteryschool.com, and they will make sure I get your message. Get the app and enjoy those free meditations. And if you think you like them, then, sign up. We'd love to have you. And, the books say so much for what's really going on in the reality. The Akashic Records book is a wonderful tool to learn how to open your own records if you like to teach yourself. And these 2 books on 5D, I'm going to have another book on 5D before I leave that one behind. And of course, Beyond the Flower of Life is the epitome of what's going on with the Merkaba and how to use it and how to maximize it. So, these are opportunities for people to grow and learn, and they're on audio too. So
Yeah, and I highly recommend. I've had all the books for a while. Absolutely great reading. I highly recommend all of that. I wanted to ask you. Oh, somebody really quick. I think I saw this in the chat. Is the app available on both Android and Apple, or is it just Apple right now?
We're working on Android. It's not ready yet.
Okay.
The Apple version is ready.
Okay. So do you have a timeline for the Android version?
It'll be out in July.
July. Oh, a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Maureen St. Germain. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay. Oh, and you owe me an email with some pictures in it. Wink, wink. Of the East Coast. You know what to do. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Maureen, have a great night.
So
Thank you so much. You're the absolute very best. Maureen, thank you so much. Maureen St. Germain. And now the links for Maureen's meditation gift, they are below. I popped it up in the chat, and so did Bill. Bill's got it up again in the chat right there for everybody. And so there you go. What do I have? What's going on with me tomorrow night? Does anybody know? Let's see. Tomorrow night. Oh, tomorrow night I got Dr. Bruce Cornett on. That is tomorrow night on Fade to Black. What a great show tonight. Also, tomorrow I will be on with Christina Gomez. Mysteries with a History. All right, and that is tomorrow afternoon. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Thank you to Dennis and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2023 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. Tomorrow night, Dr. Bruce Cornett. Until then, everybody be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.